this guy was like, oh, I just want to see him get in the ring and beat the shit out of each other.
The Smashing Machine is not just maybe the best mixed martial arts film ever made. It's not just a breakout dramatic role for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It's not just a film with a lot of Oscar buzz. It's also a film that sees its director, Benny Safdie, do something he's never done before, which is to make a film all on his own. And I mean, look how it paid off. And Benny very recently won the Silver Lion for Best Director at the Venice Film Festival. And it's a great joy to say that Benny Safdie joins me now. How are you?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. That's It's wild to hear it said.
Yeah, the Silver Lion Best Director thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Big moment, man. I could tell. I was hi, by the way, and thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I watched the clip of you winning that thing. Big moment. How were you feeling?
It was just like, because I never even thought, that was even a possibility at all, ever. So it was just like, oh my goodness. And then I'm like, and looking at this thing, I'm like, this is a beautiful sculpture in its own right, And it's such an old festival, and the people and the people were there this year. I'm like, what, really? So.
Yeah. I mean, and you were doing a lot at the same time. I was reading you were doing this you were editing this while shooting Happy Gilmore 2, while needing to get in shape for a Christopher Nolan movie.
That is correct.
Talk me through this. What do you?
So while I was finishing shooting. I was in the middle of shooting Smash Machine. Sandler called me about Happy Gilmore 2, and I was like, yes, done. Mm-hmm. And I didn't care what I was going to – I was like, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. And so then so I was literally editing parts of the movie in the trailer while I was waiting to go and act. Mm-hmm. And it was, I don't know. That was just an – I was like – to be a bad guy in the Happy Gilmore movie was like a dream.
Sure, yeah.
And I love Sandler, and it was just an amazing experience. And so I also thought it's interesting because when I'm acting, it's helpful for when I'm directing, So in this process, in the editing, you can get lost and caught up in things. And so it was, I think, helpful to kind of just shake yourself
out. Get some perspective.
Yeah, just look at something else and do something.
It just strikes me as tiring. You were doing three things at the same time.
But it wasn't. That's the thing is I'm not thinking about it that way, or I'm not thinking about it at all. Yeah. So you're just kind of doing it.
Yeah.
And it's not tiring because I was excited by the things. So it was just okay, let's just do it. It's these things happen to be all at the same time. And then I was saying to a friend, I was like, and then when I'm not doing anything, I'm not doing anything. So it's I feel like it kind of balances itself out a little bit.
I'm doing things because I want to do them. Is strangely something that's on my mind when I was watching The Smashing Machine.
Yeah.
But let's set it up for everybody.
Okay.
So Mark Kerr, early MMA fighter.
Yes.
There had been a documentary made about him a number of years ago called The Smashing Machine.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark the Smashing Machine Kerr!
The UFC wanted to take what they did down in Brazil and bring it to cable television in the United States.
I might fight a guy who has a karate background. A lot of what it is people have bought into the stereotype. We're going to show you the bloodiest, goriest fighting sport ever. Look at it.
I'm one of those people that thinks that it is.
Yeah, and really, it's for a lot of people it should. I mean, but
do we hate each other though?
Oh, absolutely not.
Nobody
absolutely
does?
not. No.
What drew you to Mark's story?
So Dwayne said he had watched this documentary.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes, and he wanted to.
I'll always call him Dwayne
The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, Rocky
DJ.
Yeah.
I'll call him DJ. But yeah, he had seen this movie and he had wanted to make fictional. He wanted to. I want to play Mark, and just that alone was something that I instantly was like, oh, he wants to play this guy. And it's a complicated person. He's got his own struggles. He's dealing with addiction. He's struggling in his relationship with his girlfriend, and he's struggling with what it means to be the best. And those are not things that you would normally associate with Dwayne, because he's so successful and he's this invincible person, But here he was wanting to show that there was something really scared inside, vulnerable. And I thought that's amazing because that's what I found so beautiful about Mark is that he's vulnerable and he finds that as a point of his strength. And as I was making the movie, I realized that that was something that was important to me, that vulnerability and strength don't have to cancel each other out. You can be strong and vulnerable. You can be, if you can empathize with somebody who's invincible, then like maybe that will help you empathize with everybody else, you know?
Yeah.
And that early MMA days was so kind of experimental.
8 tough warriors who must face the fury of the octagon. No rounds, no time limits, no way out.
Literally the craziest thing you could think of. Tournaments where you're fighting, person after person after person. It's insane. And so, and then at one point there's no gloves, it's just like bare knuckle. And these guys are putting it all out there. And then the other thing is they're all fighting each other in different leagues. And they're traveling around and they're friends with each other. They all know one another. And I'm like, that's wild that you can go in the ring and have that kind of intense, kind of violent interaction and then be friends with them. And I've had that experience, like I trained as a boxer because I was going to play a boxer and things. So I was like, I got to learn how to learn how to box.
Was this recently?
This was 10 years ago, and then I hadn't stopped. And then I would, at one point, somebody asked me to be in an amateur fight, so I started training for that. And little did I know I was getting set up to get I was setting up to lose.
You can take it your ass kicked.
I
It's
can
okay.
say,
Yeah,
I'm setting up to get my
Once
ass
you
kicked.
win the Silver Lion, you can curse on Canadian public radio.
Great.
You're good.
I
yeah.
wasn't sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
Thank
was
you.
setting myself like my ass kicked, and luckily my coach knew that that was happening, and he's like, "I'm not going to let you do that." But at that point, I had done a lot of sparring. I was training all this time, and I was just getting like rocked in the ring. At one point, I remember just like everything just went dark, and it was like this like sustained kind of concussion.
So you actually got in the ring with this person.
Yeah,
this person
and he
who's
was
better
huge,
than you.
way
Yeah,
better than
yeah.
me, so much bigger than me.
What is it like? I mean, most of us. What is it like to get beat up in the ring?
It's weird to say. It's an incredible feeling. You know, after that, when I started having trouble, like in the aftermath, remembering words, I thought, okay, I should stop that because like this is not what I'm like. I need that, you know.
Yeah, but in it, you said you go dark.
It was I remember that was because I was getting knocked.
Yeah, but that's still something else.
Yeah, and it was so. But it was there's something about like you learn something about the connection between your brain and your body. So somebody's hitting you in the head, and you say to your hand like, block it, move, and it's not listening. And you're just getting hit repeatedly in the same spot. And you're like, why are you not responding? And you kind of get like a deep connection to yourself in a way. And it's a fragile thing. And then like you do something to somebody and then they do it to you. And you realize kind of like, oh, I have that inside of me. What does that make you feel like? And it makes you feel different when you walk outside, that like you can do that. And so there was something about all of it that I really knew that I wanted to explore at some point in like movies. And also just like the closeness that I had with all the people in the boxing gym. I loved going there. I loved talking to them. I loved being in this environment. It was just infectious.
So when Dwayne comes to you and wants to make this film, what questions were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Yes, I was.
Did you like The Rock?
I did.
Did you,
yes.
You like the People's Champ?
The thing is like, and then he has such an ability on like the microphone and how he's able to command the crowd.
What is your name?
I told you.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Were you having conversations with him around the mentality and the attitude of someone who would want to do this?
100%. When it was like, okay, we're going to do this, you know, it was like 2019 to 2023 when we started actually like production. And as I was writing it and talking about it with him, we got into everything. His life, his family, what his father, his mother, everything about like the hardships he had, what his life could have been like if he went down this path. We thought about it all.
For Dwayne?
Yes,
for
Dwayne.
Right, because he was born into a wrestling family.
Yes.
Was his father or his grandfather High Chief Peter Maivia? His grandfather.
Yes,
grandfather.
And his father was a
Rocky Johnson,
yes.
legendary wrestler.
And here's a guy who grew up around like Andre the Giant. He's got a crazy life.
So he says to you, you know, I think a lot about what my life could have been.
And if I hadn't, like at one point he's like, when he was getting booed all the time, he's like, what if I like, and I'm not getting paid as like I'm working all the time, I'm not getting paid a lot. What if I did that? You know that, and he met Mark early on in his career and was questioning him about like not just, he wasn't thinking like, oh, I can go and do this, but like maybe I can try and use this. And
Hold on. I didn't see that in the press notes. Dwayne
at some point like crossed paths with Mark Kerr.
With Mark Kerr, the guy he's playing in this thing.
Early on, because Kerr was like over in Japan, like they kind of
making money.
Yes, so he and Kerr was like, as he was talking to me, he's like, I didn't know why he was talking to me about this stuff, but like there was this kind of like he was wondering like, well, what is going on over there exactly? Because there were a bunch of wrestlers who were going and doing it, so that was kind of an amazing thing. And so he always felt a connection to this story in that way. But it's also like you don't think that like he wants to go in and tell a story about like this, you know, where it's like, well, what if you don't win? And what is that like? And for me, like I remember reading, there's an amazing collection of essays called Losers. And it's about different people in sports who have lost. And in the beginning, the authors write this thing about how winning is a very fleeting feeling, but the losses are where you can kind of really see humanity. And that really struck me because like I've always been obsessed with trying, not necessarily succeeding, but somebody really trying their hardest to do something. And seeing that moment is really vulnerable, you know? And so when somebody loses, nobody likes to talk about it because it doesn't feel good, you know? But you can learn a lot about yourself in that moment. And if you could get past it and be like, you know what, it's okay to lose. And that's something that's interesting specifically about MMA versus boxing, because I love boxing. And MMA, you can have a loss and come back and fight again. It's okay. There's a tap out, which I think is such an amazing idea. Like, hey, I could break your leg or I could break your arm, but I'm giving you the opportunity to tap out. And I'm like, oh, that's an amazing concept. It's like, I could do this, but I don't want to.
So right away when you were saying, like, I'm really interested in losing, my brain immediately went to, wow, I don't know, Benny, like you've sort of succeeded very young and things you did very, you know, so, okay, I can see that maybe as a curiosity of what is it like to lose? But then I thought a little bit more about it. And and maybe you put a period on a sentence of something I was thinking about with your work in general.
This is me. This is how I win.
We were talking about Uncut Gems, and we were like, you know that the chances of this being a hopeful story at the end, that he finally gets it, and you're kind of praying for it. Yeah. And then I think one of the reasons, I mean, I think that film got a lot of attention because you went like, nope, not going to happen. And then, or you and your brother did. And then I think with this film, you're always waiting for Mark Kerr to, oh, well, he actually did win $1 million. And oh, he actually did become a big star. Nope, it didn't really work out. And that's kind of it. That was interesting to me about you, and I didn't know what to say about it. Yeah. But you being interested in Losers is sort of like, is there, you know?
Well, yeah, and it's also like...
Am I onto something there?
There, for sure, because like...
Help me.
Because
validate me.
The thing is like, one of the other things is like, when you're in the world, like you don't know what other people have dealt with or gone through, you know, in their life. And so you may look at somebody who is invincible and strong, and yet they are struggling with something that you would never even imagine. You know, seeing somebody like Mark Kerr use like drugs like that is a crazy thing. And maybe that, like, because there's a stigma to drugs, you know, and people who use them. And like here you have a guy who's as strong as possible, and he's dealing with the same thing. Yes, somebody who succeeds in things like it's great, but like afterwards you kind of have to be like, well, now what? You know, what am I going to do in my life? You know, because you can't use that forever. You know, that's a very fleeting thing. You have to be okay with yourself.
And that's what you're interested in as a filmmaker. That's what you're interested in
totally,
as a storyteller.
100%.
Did you the conversations with Dwayne? While keep anything private, you need to keep private. But I imagine they would have been sensitive. Yeah, he would have had friends who would have died.
Oh, for sure.
He would have had friends who, who would have been addicted to painkillers, especially in wrestling. How much of that was on your mind as a filmmaker when you were making this?
Completely, you know, because like he could so. You watch his performance in this movie, and there's no doubt that you know he's been through some shit. You're just like, you can feel it. He is embodying so much internal struggle and complexity that, like, you only know that if you felt that stuff, you know? And I remember actually sitting down with Emily and Dwayne just about that relationship between them was very
Emily
important.
Blunt, who plays Mark Kerr's wife in the film.
She plays his girlfriend.
You're right.
And then,
eventually his wife,
I made this for you.
love you. Do you want me to throw this out? Jane, you gonna have this?
Use the skim milk, right?
Yeah, skim milk like last week.
I switched to whole milk last
Why didn't you
week.
tell me?
I thought I told you.
No, but you gotta tell me these things. I'm gonna get it wrong if you don't tell me these things.
It's all right. I'll just make another one.
And just that relationship was so kind of complicated. And I wanted to show it in its reality. Not in a way that like you would normally see in a movie, but I wanted to show that like it's complicated, it's messy. Both of them are at fault. Both of them are saying things that are not nice to each other. But like, so I got them into a room. We were there and I said, look, let's just all talk about the times we've gotten into a fight and said something that we were embarrassed about and then really made us feel terrible. So we all just did that.
Did you do it too?
Of course I did. I told them everything about me and all the stuff that I've been through in my life. And because I'm like, it's only fair, you know, like if I'm asking you to put it out there, I'm going to tell you so that you know that I'm not hiding it too. So we would do that. And I did that with Mark too. He reminded me of our first conversation, which I completely forgot. But like we would talk for hours and hours and hours. And he said, the first time he called me, it was like you were reading like, hi, this. And then he said, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to tell you everything about myself because I'm doing your life, so you should know about mine. And that's just kind of how I approach it is I'm just going to be open about it.
Yeah.
And then if we are that way, then we'll feel comfortable mining these uncomfortable feelings, you know?
Right. I have an uncomfortable feeling now.
Okay.
How is making this movie on your own? You know why I'm uncomfortable asking that.
Why?
Well, because it's you and your brother have made the movies before, and now this is the first one by yourself. And while I was reading the introduction, I said he made it on his own, and I kind of heard you make a noise.
I didn't make a noise, did you?
I think you might have coughed. But you know, your brain gets like, your brain goes like,
for sure. Oh, that's why he's
geez,
coughing.
Louise, you know, he's probably doesn't want, you know, he's
No.
How was making the movie on your own?
It was interesting because like when we started out, we were in college making movies separately, you know, and we both were doing that, and when we made movies together, it was to explore certain ideas, you know? And then when it got to the point where after Uncut Gems, it's like, that was our goal. And then after that, it's like, well, now what? And then it's just like, oh, well, what do you want to do? I want to do this. Well, I want to do that. So then it's just like, okay, let's just go do those things.
Yeah.
So it really was just a natural progression of what you want to explore. And it was definitely like, I guess, just on like a base level, I didn't have to talk about stuff, you know, with somebody else. I could just like do it.
But that's hard in its own way.
Of course.
Because you also have someone who can check you.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
You have a Hannah to your Barbara.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean?
You know, we would pull each other in ways, you know, and it was definitely an interesting experience. But like I wasn't thinking about it that way when I went into this because I'm just like, oh, this is what I'm going to try and do right now, you know. And there was an amazing thing that like as I was editing, I was just out on the street and I was taking a picture and somebody's like, oh, you think that's cool? Go down to Orchard Street. And they like turned that whole place in the 1950s. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I knew exactly what they were talking about. They were talking about his movie downtown.
Your brother's movie.
Yeah, so it was just like, for me, it was cool because like here I am editing this movie and he's down there working on his own thing. So I think it's just like, oh, isn't that great?
I mean, it is great that you're both doing your own thing. But I get what it's like to have people make a lot of meaning out of it, and that must kind of suck.
I have a friend who is a big boxing fan. And he would always tell me like, he's like, I'm so ashamed of this. He's like, but there's the Klitschko brothers, and then there were these guys, the Charlo brothers. He's like,
these are famous boxers.
Yes,
yeah.
The Klitschko, I think is like he was the mayor of Kiev, like Vladimir Klitschko, and
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So they were, but they never fought each other, and but this guy was like, oh, I just want to see him get in the ring and beat the shit out of each other. That was just like this innate human desire to see that happen.
Yeah.
So there's probably a little bit of that out there, you know.
That's in your movie, man.
I know.
Mark Kerr and his best friend.
Exactly. That's all anybody wants to see. And you know what? It's so funny because like I have the interview where he says, like, what would it be like to fight such a good friend?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'm not going to answer that question. You know, it's like I don't want to think about that.
But
it's all anybody wants to see.
Yeah.
And in the movie, you've seen what a fight like that looks like with his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nice,
no.
you know?
No, I understand it. Like, that's so funny. That's a great comparison. Like, everyone wants there to be this thing because that would be so wonderful. Like, my always feeling is that the Gallaghers, they definitely just got together at Christmas and everything was all right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's much now. I'll get a note from Noel Gallagher going, absolutely not. Are you kidding me? You've had a pretty crazy run for the past few years. We mentioned Uncut Gems. Then Oppenheimer. Oh, Killian was in here yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, was he?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
he's the best.
He's lovely, lovely man. The Curse, your series with Nathan Fielder and Emma Stone. But I wanted to ask you about Happy Gilmore 2.
Okay.
I loved it. I loved getting to see it. You got to play the villain in the sequel.
Yes.
Tell me a story about being on Happy Gilmore. Tell me something about it.
So there was, well, first of all, it was just like I was so excited to play that part because like Shooter McGavin is a legendary character.
Shooter McGavin is the main villain in the original Happy Gilmore movies.
Yes.
Yeah. Played by who's that actor?
Christopher McDonald.
Yeah, right.
And it was so funny because we both talked about it, and I said, because the thing is like, I'm approaching this as if I'm the good guy. And he's like, me too. And I'm like, that's it, you know? And so there was an amazing element of just like being able to bond with him over that. But it's also like, I remember there was one time where like we had done all this stuff, and then there was the scene where we were like really confronting each other in the supermarket. And I had I couldn't help it. I had to say like to Sandler, I love you. Like, you're the inspiration for this. I love you. And everybody's like, can you do one where you don't say that? I'm like, no, I can't because I love this guy. And I want that to be a part of the character, that he does like him. But if you piss him off, he's going to snap in a second.
Yeah,
so it's like,
right.
He's a really weird guy.
But that was you honestly telling Sandler
for sure.
how much you love him.
Yeah, like, look, I can't, like, I don't want anything bad for you, man. Like, but then it's like, if he says something, I'll say like, hey, you take a step back. There was like, that was to me was like, it was just fun to do that with him, you know?
Are you inspired by him as a guy, Sandler?
Oh, yeah, totally.
I find him so mysterious and wonderful.
He puts his work ethic, his care, just his kindness. He's just an awesome guy.
But it's almost like he doesn't get caught up in the stuff around the work.
Yeah.
He doesn't do a lot of press. He doesn't talk a lot about his films. He doesn't talk a lot about the reaction to them, good or bad.
For sure.
You get the feeling that, and people are going to laugh at the movies he makes, and then they're excellent and they make $1 trillion. And he casts his family in it, which you think people would laugh at, but it's really heartwarming and really lovely when he does it. What do you learn from working with someone like Adam Sandler?
There's just like, I guess, yeah, there's just a way that he moves through the world that's really awesome. And you're like, oh, okay. And the way that he's just constantly, he's still trying to like scratch an itch creatively, no matter what he's achieved, you know? And that's really inspiring, that he's always, everything matters to him, everything that you're doing. Like the way that I had to say, enough with the shoe, forget about the shoe. Mm-hmm. That was a
line in the film.
Yeah. We did that so many times. And he's like, and then he got with me and he's like, you got to say it like that. And it was really awesome to like, and then when I finally got it and I heard him laugh, I was like, yes, you know, it was amazing.
You learned something from that.
Of course,
from
yeah.
Adam Sandler, even though he had been in Punch Drunk Love, comedy actor, well-known comedy actor, is in Uncut Gems and is unbelievable in it. Dwayne Johnson, wrestler, had been in a lot of like fun action comedy movies and action movies, is unbelievable in this. What do you see in these people that maybe other people don't see?
Well, it's when you meet them.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. Well, it's like I always just try to like do a meeting with somebody, just to meet, not with any specific thing in mind, but like when you meet somebody, you really see them, and you're like, oh my God, that person's like really complicated and interesting, and there's a lot that we could do together to figure out stuff, and that's just like. I remember just like meeting Dwayne and just being like, oh my God, there's so much going on. Like I had such an idea of who he was, but then it's like that, you know?
Well, should I read something into the fact that these people aren't Daniel Day-Lewis? They're not coming in as, you know?
Well, I think it's funny because like people are always like, oh, well, you use a lot of non-actors. And I'm like, well, they're first-time actors. They just haven't been given the opportunity to act before.
But what are you looking for as a filmmaker?
I think I'm just looking for somebody's ability to connect with their emotions in a real way. That's it. And if you can express that on screen with a complete disregard for the process in front of you, then it's a success.
So how do you then, when you have to go on set as an actor yourself, after working with these people and having this really unbelievable eye, how is that for you?
That's all I'm trying to do, is I am trying to just be as real as I possibly can, saying the things that I'm told to say. It's like, that's it. It's like I'm just trying to make it feel like I feel that thing. That's what I want, and that's what I want to make people do in the movie, you know?
Would you pick one over the other, acting or directing?
I think they work together. So I wouldn't pick one over the other because I think one makes me better at the other, you know? Acting and getting to work with other people and seeing different styles and also seeing other directors like PTA and Nolan and Claire Denis, and it's amazing to be able to have like a front row seat to those people, you know, and see how they work.
Well, can you give me an example of that? Because again, we're not filmmakers here. Though I did do 2 guest spots on a Canadian television show, by the way. Just
yeah.
You know, in case you're seeing something in my eyes. But when you have, I feel like I always get a really lovely but sort of answer that I pretend I understand when I ask people this question of like, hey, you worked with this famous director and now you're a director yourself. What do you get from it? And they like, oh, their attention to the way an actor looks at and I go like, oh yeah, for sure. And then an hour later I go like, I don't know what they, I don't know what they talked about. Can you give me a concrete example of something you learned from like Christopher Nolan or Paul Thomas Anderson or like somebody that when you were making your films, you do?
Okay. I will give you 3 examples, one for each. With Chris, he has this massive environment around, and yet somehow he's able to create an environment where it just feels like you're figuring it out. You're doing it right there, and it's just a bunch of people in a room figuring it out, and it's a vibe, and it feels very hands-on, and it's like it's the opposite of what you'd expect. And I'm like, that's awesome. You know, there's a sense of discovery that's going on that you feel connected to as an actor that helps you perform. That is one. Okay. And then with Paul, I remember there was one moment in particular where I had to do, I kind of like, I took a chance and I threw out this line because I didn't know what I had. I'm standing over Alana, the actress, and I give her a compliment and she's kind of looking at me and I didn't know how to end the situation. So I go, that's it. And I walked away. And Paul liked it, but he thought I could do better. And so he said, in a way, it was like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, that was really good. Like, I don't know if we could do much better than that. And it was a way of kind of like gently encouraging me to go even further and just like, let's just try.
Yeah,
you know?
You push a little bit.
Yeah, but it was in such a nice way.
And you take that to your...
Yeah, okay. And I was like, oh, that's amazing, you know? And that made me feel really good. And then we did like 30 takes, and it was like, and then we got there, you know?
Got it.
And then with Claire, I remember there was one time where like I was doing this scene, and she just said, I'm bored. Everybody stand up. And I was just like, what? Like, you could just do that? She's like, yeah, everybody stand up. And I'm like... As an editor, I'm thinking, well, I did the whole first part of the scene sitting down. I said, can we just get a shot of me standing up? And she's like, oh, fine. And then so we did it. But there's an element of like, always be surprised, always be excited by what you're watching in front of you. And that goes to the extreme with her that like, I don't even care about the formalism as long as it feels exciting. And I'm like, that's awesome, you know?
But it goes back to that thing you were telling me before that there is the things those people have in common is not that they are trying to win awards or they're not trying to win the Silver Lion Award. They're trying. Yeah. All those people are just trying. Yeah. You said that's what I'm really interested in. I'm interested in people trying.
And it's like, because it's like, if you're really trying hard to do something, you're not thinking about the outcome. You're just trying to achieve what it is that you're trying to do. And if it works, great. But if it doesn't, you still learn something, you know?
I know this is off topic before we go, but like I really love the way this film was shot, by the way.
Oh,
and I wanted to ask you about that before we go. And I'm not, again, I don't have any film experience, but I noticed I wasn't in the ring with them. You know how in Rocky, there is you're in the ring with Rocky. He's getting punched. You're kind of watching it all happen. You're living within the characters. Yeah. Why did you decide to have us be outside the ring? It feels like it was intentional.
It was a rule. We were not allowed to go in the ring. I specifically said, Maceo Bishop, who was the DP, who did an incredible job, I said, we have third-tier passes to this. I said, so we are going to give the audience the best seat in the house, but the ring is for the fighters. So we're going to watch what it's like to actually be there, and what it's like to be there is not to be in the ring. It's to be in the audience.
Why is that interesting for you rather than living? Because we're living with them, and living with them in their houses.
Exactly. So I realized what you could do is, because you're living with them in their houses and you're seeing them in their lives, it's okay to be distant from them. But now you're watching them as a friend. And I've had this experience where I saw a friend of mine fighting, and when he won, it was like the most incredible experience I've ever had. And when he lost, it was the most devastating experience I've ever had. but I was so connected to him, even though I was 30 rows back and I wasn't even in, I had one perspective of the fight, but it was because I was directly connected to him and his emotions. And I'm like, that's what I want to show here is that. And the way to really see if that works is to put a limitation and say, I'm not going to go in there. I'm going to see if I can get there through this way. And I also wanted it to feel like you were actually there.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be like a virtual reality, I guess, for lack of a better word, that you were transported to this time and you got to experience it. And that meant the point of view had to be very rooted in reality. So, of course, you couldn't be in the ring. You'd get hit by the fighters. So you have to be outside of the ring because that's where you could stand and allow the fight to still happen, you know?
So last question is, and maybe this does relate to filmmaking too, but like the question I had while I was watching this thing was why?
Yeah.
Why put yourself through all this destruction? Why put yourself through enough pain that you get hooked on opiates?
Yeah.
Why put yourself through, all literal physical pain, death-defying pain for not that much money? For not, and even watching UFC now, like most people don't make it. Most boxers don't make it.
Yeah.
You're just punishing yourself. Most wrestlers don't make it. Did making this, I mean, I guess most filmmakers don't make it and they are broke. Did making this film give you any perspective on why?
It's the potential, the possibility, and I think when you get a taste of that ineffable feeling, you just want it again, and it's like, oh my God, if I can just get there again, and you'll do it and you'll keep chasing it, and it's a weird, it can be dangerous, to constantly chase that feeling.
I'm trying not to bring up, you just won a major award and got a major 15-minute standing ovation.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be hard not to chase that, man,
But at the end of the day, it's like you just have to move on, because if I remember saying to Ryan Bader, who's a real fighter, I said, you work, because I said, if there's a moment when he's sitting and he's won, and I said, you've just worked so hard for something, and then you think to yourself, well, now what? Now what? And that's, I think, the important thing to think about is like, okay, that was great, but now what are you going to do? It's like, I still got to go on with all this other stuff I'm doing, because that's what it means to be alive. So
it's a beautiful film about that, man. It's a beautiful film about the reality of what it's like, of what it's actually like when you give yourself to these things, the consequences for it, the complexities around it.
And then the other thing is like to see these guys who started this whole thing, that to me was really important because like
UFC now is a multi-million-dollar organization.
And there's a legacy of like these guys who did put themselves on the line and are living in the aftermath with all these injuries and all this stuff, and people don't know about them. And I'm like, well, if this is like, if one person goes back and goes on YouTube and learns about one of these guys and watches their fights, like that's awesome. So,
congratulations on the film.
Oh, thank you so much.
I really loved it. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, this has been a blast.